Good morning, and welcome everyone to the Women's Coffee Club. My name is Rini Ledgerwood, and I'm so excited to be here. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other and learning from a different presenter each week. And our presenter this morning is Sandra Valks. And the topic is a great topic to communicate on your feet. So Sandra, I can't wait to hear that. So Sandra, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background and why you decided to choose this topic, please. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I always enjoy this group. So yes, I'm Coach Sandra, the Compassionate Queen of Straight Talk. And I have, with the Straight Talk, I think that's where I really got it, that when people are straight and clear and confident, now you're going to perk up your ears and listen. So those would probably be your three biggest things. Know who you are and what you want to say. So how does that help when you're in that situation, maybe networking, or you're at a wedding, or you're in the boardroom and somebody says, hey, could you say a few words right now? What's that about? And so I think that's where my passion for it comes. I have been 30 years now in Toastmasters and 40 years as a financial advisor. So I've been working with people all my life, and 5 years old on stage, So people are my passion. And communication and the power of our words is how I experience life. That's where I come from. So I think that maybe gives you a bit of a background. What I want to do is just go around the room very quickly, just one sentence or whatever, and just introduce yourself and say, hi, I'm Remy. And when I could really get stuck in my mouth and don't know what help could you use, what kind of situation do you find yourself in? Just one or two sentences, Remy.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Rini Ledgerwood. When I retired from San Diego State University, I decided to start the Women's Coffee Club. I started with different things, and I decided finally my passion is really to help women to get empowered and to get elevated. So that's why I decided to do this. Okay, let's go to Binta.
Now what I'm really asking you for is, why would you come to a topic like this?
What do I come to a topic like this? Because I think it's helpful. It's helpful for to learn from different presenter, because each presenter will bring the topic that they're passionate about rather than having the same presenter each week. I think it's good to be able to learn different topics. So that's why I decided to do it that way.
Wonderful. Binta, what are you hoping to get out of today? Why would you use something like this?
Are you talking to me or Binta?
Binta.
Okay, go ahead, Binta.
So introduce yourself, and where would you use it, and why are you coming for this topic?
Hi, well, my name is Binta, and I live in New Orleans, and well, I'm here because I want to learn, because I'm a yoga teacher, and I use my words to nourish people's souls when I teach. So this is going to help me to communicate better, as that's what I like to do. I'm always in front of people talking when I teach, so this is going to help me a lot.
Wonderful, wonderful. Loveline, I'm just going across my screen. I'll see if I can get this over so I'm not looking like I'm looking somewhere else. There we go. Let's see if that helps. Loveline?
Hi, my name is Loveline. Well, I don't even know how to describe myself. I'm originally from Africa. Sometimes I live in the United States. Currently, I'm in England. And I think this topic is very important. Especially communication is important to all of us, and thinking and talking on your feet. I think it enhances someone's confidence, what's it called? Communication skills and confidence, which are very key to today's life, because you can't blend well in public without these skills. So I think it's very important that we meet and polish our thinking and communicating on our feet.
Wonderful. Thank you. Sherry, you're muted. Is it Sherry or Sherry?
Sherry, it's just
Sherry.
Sherry. And I didn't come for the topic, no offense. I've just started coming to the group just because I needed to meet new people. And so I'm just new. This is only my second time. So I'm just willing to learn anything because I'm sure what you have to share is going to be helpful. So maybe afterwards I'll tell you why I came.
Okay, thank you. Beautiful. Tamara.
Hi, I think yeah, I'm not off. Tammy, I go by Tammy most of the time. So Tammy Kloss, and I started a position on Monday with the city of Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's a business relationship management role and very much dependent on effective communications, in that I'm working with the various city departments to understand their requirements and then working with the IT organization to write functional and technical requirements to help solve problems across the city's different business entities. So just that importance of communication in the workplace. And actually during the interview process, that was one of the large topics that we talked about, is different ways of communicating effectively.
Beautiful, beautiful. Val.
Well, for me, communication is a topic also that is an interesting topic for me, in the sense where the majority of my life in my career, I didn't use word to communicate. Massage therapist, and so for hours on, I wouldn't talk because the communication was through my hands and through my feet, massaging people, relaxing people, helping them with their pains and aches, soreness, and you name it. So I feel in my mid-50s now that I have a lack in communication skills. I have also a kind of a fiery type of personality, which I become more conscious as I interact and communicate with other people, that I need to, temper off sometimes and, roll my tongue 7 times before I say something. Things of that nature. So the topic was interesting to me, Sandra, today. So, and I love being here with you all every Thursday. It's a if I'm not here, it's because I have a big, can't do otherwise. Other than that, it's a pleasure to be with you all as always. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Julie, what are you doing here? I mean, other than I know that we all enjoy just coming together because we're a great bunch.
I've had to think on my feet and go back quickly to see what the topic was. So I didn't check what it was. So I try and be here too. So communicating on your feet is everything, isn't it, really? And especially these days, because we're often caught short thinking, what am I going to say? In fact, just before I come on here, I've just recorded 3 videos to send to somebody, because I think if we can communicate on a video quickly, it saves a lot of typing and it's more effective. So I think communication, and we're so lucky to have this medium. So, I'm all over the place for the last 2 years, because I've been in New Zealand for 2 years nearly, 21 months, and then I came back, and then my brother passed away, so I had to go back for another 3 months. And so I'm just getting back on my feet. Financially, everything. We'd started a series of, Ava Hoffman and I started a series of, webinars and not webinars, masterclasses. And, she's carrying on. So I'm trying to get back on my feet. So it's incredibly important. All right. And I have missed you and your wonderful pink hair. I haven't been on anything that you've been on yet. So you are a bit of a mystery.
Alrighty. Well, let's see if we can peel back a layer.
I'm already curious, you see.
Wonderful. I'm a curious person too. Where are we at? Sue.
Well, hi, this is my first time joining the group. So I saw the topic when I clicked on this morning and thought, terrific. Who can't use help with communication? I mean, it's essential to every day of our lives. So as an interior designer, I am always having to kind of come in with confidence and creativity and convince everybody that it's worth spending the money, and it always is, but you know, the communication is the most critical piece of my job. It's a higher need than creativity. It's a higher need than budget. There's nothing more important than communication for my work. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So thank you.
Wonderful. Where are we? Kim Riley. Kim.
Hello, I'm not very presentable this morning, so if there's a videotape or snapshot taken of the picture, I'm like, Anyway, I agree with all of what others have said. I'm always wanting to learn how to communicate more effectively, more succinctly, whether it's on video or just in person, and also to think on my feet. I was in Toastmasters myself for like 4.5 years, so not 30. I'm impressed, Sandra. And it was helpful. I'm always, though, wanting to learn and communicate more effectively, more, with more passion, with more emotion, so it connects more with people that I'm talking with. I mean, there are a lot of reasons that I'll never learn enough about communication. And anyway, I'm very excited to hear and learn from you what you have to say.
Wonderful. Thank you. Omeka, why are you here?
I'm alive. I'm here.
Why are you here with this topic? I mean, besides the great people.
Yeah, great people always. Yeah, communication. I'm learning not to ramble so much, and to partly from you. Thank you. And being with you several times. And yeah, like everyone, yeah, communication. Need it more, for clarity and for succinctness, and yeah, to get my point across, yeah, communication is everything. So thank you for the topic.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yanni. You're muted, Yanni.
Maybe she's working.
Oh, okay. We can move on to Amy. Amy, are you available? You're muted as well.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. I came today because as a relationship coach, I am always speaking to people about the words that they use, the tone, the intention, the attitude, how they present themselves. I mean, communication is so multifaceted and vital to connection, building connection, and awareness is really imperative. So as we strive to connect to one another, being aware of how we present ourselves in all ways, verbal and nonverbal, are really important. So this was a topic that interested me, and to be honest, I really love hearing everybody's accent and seeing everybody from all around the world. So I wanted to show up and just be able to listen to everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. That is wonderful. Look at the diversity of who we are. And I want to say, everyone here speaking this morning, well, yes, morning for me, speaking has been authentic. Your first key is always authenticity. Just be yourself. Because I'm sure as you listen to each person, you recognize that's them. That's you. I heard you. I heard you. The real you. Nothing replaces the real you. So I don't care whether you're in the boardroom, heading up a corporation, or whatever you're doing. If you can't bring yourself to it, you're going to burn out. You're going to stress yourself out. Because every time you're not yourself, you're putting a mask on. You're putting a shield on. You're hiding behind something. And that will burn you out. Not only that, everyone here recognized how real everyone was being. and there was no facade to get behind. Can you imagine how much time that saves in business, in networking, in any relationship? Family, I mean, Olmeca, you looking out with your mom just blows my mind. My mom and I, we would have killed each other. It would have been a short story. I'm just so impressed with what you're doing. And I can assure you that the lessons you're learning and what you're learning, you're going to take it out to the world if you're not going to be stingy. But like you say, you got to learn to stop rambling, because you'll go, and we can catch ourselves doing it. Julie, I couldn't listen as fast as you were talking. Now, that's not that I'm saying anything rude and nasty. But it's important to know.
I was trying to be succinct and quick.
So you've got nice broad shoulders, because I know we might not have been in the groups, but I have been in a couple of your groups when you were teaching with Ava, and I know your heart. Your heart is right out there. And then you've got and the energy is lovely. But you can learn to just calm yourself a little bit. And then when you're going to say what you've got to say, you won't have to make all those excuses, which is what takes you fluttering. There goes the clarity, you see. What happens when we get into our giggles, and I laugh a lot. But what happens when, you'll know it. I know when I'm giggling versus just having a laugh and enjoying. You know it too. You know it when you're doing it yourself. You can feel it. So starting to be aware of all the wonder of yourself. You don't have to start worrying about, well, what are they going to say? I had to give that up because I'm such a motor mouth. But I had to also, Julie's laughing because she's a motor mouth too. My motor mouth has actually, over the decades, started to say, okay, Sandra, kind of say what you need to say, because I like being a facilitator. I think I'm a good facilitator. I have my little group, and I make sure that there's some sharing in there, and then some time for others to share. Why did I use up some of my time when I could have been teaching you something, having you introduce yourselves? Feel the difference of being a part of the group because you've gotten your voice out. Why are you here for this topic? Now we're into the topic. Very important. All of that is part of thinking, why on earth did Remy want me to come and speak? Because I have to finally recognize Sandra has value. We all have to start to understand we have our own unique value. And it's not like, oh, in our head, we knew that all that time. But the journey to our own personal value starts right from the Big Bang, the conception. And then everything else is the journey, even in utero. And whatever has happened, and that in utero. And right on out to the second Big Bang, oops, here I am. Oh shit, I'm in this world. Well, what am I going to do with it? Well, that person's telling me this and that one's, I didn't even know you were a person, but oh, that if I do that, I'm going to get, we learn all that stuff, and then we live that right into our adult years. So when we start to be aware of who we are, I know this doesn't sound like communication, but it's the core of everything we do. Because when we know ourselves, we won't have to worry about how we're speaking. We'll celebrate our own style. That's it. I was making a couple notes here. I was trying to write kind of fast. But Tammy with the business and the corporation, a place I love to work in. It's the type of thing where leaders who think they're leaders are so busy putting their masks on, nobody can see the leader in behind. What are they seeing in behind that leader? Nothing, because they're not bringing themselves to the leading job. It takes a special leader who might be a natural leader to have the courage to learn who they are and know that that leadership, that they'll be safe being themselves within that leadership. I remember one time in prison, I had one of the inmates write me up a testimonial. And he had been a little bit of a smart ass, and he was a brilliant man. In fact, one of his speeches at Toastmasters, he brought the violin. He said, "Is this a violin or is it a fiddle?" Same instrument. Then he took us on a musical tour all around the world. In prison, like, what are you doing here? Well, it was only a short sentence, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. But he was so smart and so brilliant that he could flip off and ridicule some people just with his choice of words. And I said, that's not okay. Somebody said, well, do you take them off to the private, you know, do you take them off to the side to, no, I'm in there with 25 inmates, no guards, one room. There's no place you're going to take them off. You have to handle that there, in person, with the group. And so when he wrote the testimonial, he got chuckling afterwards. In it, he put that, I wondered who this person was and what Toastmasters had to offer. And I thought anybody that comes in and spends their time must have some value of something. So he came in and he saw this giggling pink-haired old lady. And he thought, well, what's she going to teach me? But at least it's a place to go and have a coffee in prison. So he stayed. And then he got his knuckles rapped in his brilliance. And he got praise for his brilliance. He got a place to be recognized by all the other hoodlums around him, because certainly he's not a hoodlum. Well, of course he is. I mean, he got invited there. They get so annoyed when I say, well, whatever you did to get invited to live here. I didn't ask that. But we have a lot of fun. You see, I can have fun. Hold it in my confidence and my groundedness. And his word was, yes, I wondered about this, and she was very funny and very silly sometimes, but when you stepped out of line, she came down with gravitas. Gravitas. So being a leader does not mean, just because I enjoy life, does not mean that I can't step up when it's needed. That's a boundary. And when we learn our boundaries, we will start to pay attention to what's coming out of our mouth. And before it starts bubbling out of the mouth, it'll come here, get connected to, I don't know if you can see my heart down here, and start to choose the words that are going to come out. The most important one I can ever, well, I shouldn't say there's so many important times. I remember maybe 30 years ago being in church, and the minister was a wonderful storyteller, and he always had children's time. He'd go and sit on the steps at the front, and the children would come up and he'd tell the story. And his story that day was, okay, children, do you brush your teeth? You've got that toothbrush, and you get your toothpaste, and what do you do? Oh yeah, I squeeze it on there, and the little kids are right into the story of what they do. And he said, you know, have you ever tried? You know, you got too much toothpaste out there on there and it was falling off, and mommy's going to be upset and say you're wasting. Have you ever tried to put it back in there? He'd say, oh no, I tried because mommy wasn't going to be happy. How did it work? It doesn't go back in. And then he went and said, you know, our words do the same thing. When we behave or when we say our words, try getting those back in that toothpaste tube. Once they're out, you can't get it back in. Now you've got a mess. And from that mess, you again have to think, what's the way to handle this? How am I going to explain my way? Well, is explaining any good at that time? And are you going to explain and have a fit with whoever squeezed the toothpaste out all over the place? Nobody's going to listen. Everybody's too emotional and hurting. Clean up the mess. You could have done it. You could have been having just a fresh tube and got an air bubble. Have you ever had an air bubble in there? And you go to squeeze and you squeeze a little harder and go. Yeah. You know, there's wisdom in a toothpaste tube. And when we go to those simple things, now we can think, I'm no different. So here's a visual for you. What's the label you're putting on your own personal being as a toothpaste tube? Is it going to be bully? Is it going to be thoughtless? Is it going to be think before you speak? Ha! Ha! That toothpaste is going to go out. Before I go telling you what to do, am I going to ask you to tell yourself what to do? One of my biggest challenges is to keep going back to the question instead of the telling, because I'm old and I've gone through a lot of experiences. And I've gone through that stage where I thought I could fix everybody. I mean, don't worry when you get married. Don't worry about him. You'll fix it. No. I was blown away when a young woman said what all her husband was doing. Oh, he does the vacuuming and he helps with the dishes, and sometimes he does the cooking, and sometimes I do the cleanup, and he does this and he does laundry. And I said, how did you do that? Look at my age. I never got to that. She said, my mother taught me to start where you want to finish, where you want to end up. Nobody ever taught me that. That was not what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to serve. And so in the serving, pretty soon we buried ourselves. So a lot of this communication skill that I'm so passionate about has been inside work. And you will only speak out to others when you know what you're talking about, or that you recognize you don't know and you're going to ask and get help and guidance. And then out of that help and guidance that you collect from so many people thinking they might know, they might know, but get a few of them and find the one that's resonating for yourself, because you know when it resonates, you'll know. So the next thing is, when you're speaking off the cuff, if you don't know what you're talking about, shut up and sit down. If you don't care what you're talking about, shut up and sit down. So can you come on up and say a few words? Well, what would you like me to speak about? I will ask. And if it's a wedding, you kind of have an idea what it is they're wanting, but what do you want me to speak about? Well, just some memories. Okay, now I can narrow it down, you see. But we used to DJ, and the groom, the best man, was supposed to be the MC, and he was so scared about it all that he went and got himself drunk and said, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And tried a few more drinks. That wasn't going to work either. So even though as a DJ I had offered, I was the DJ with the entertainment, I was the other half. So I said, I can do the emceeing. No, I want my best man to do that. Well, if he can't do it, just let me know. I'll be fine. I'll have the program. So the poor best man comes over and he says, I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, you go check with the groom if it's okay that I do it. Yes, please. Yes, please. Like, know what you don't know. Just understand it. Don't go jumping into something you don't know. And if it's something you can learn about, go and learn about it. Ask a question. And then start to understand the role. If you're going to MC something, your MCing job is not to fill up a whole bunch of time and fill yourself out and your ego spill all over the place. Your job as the MC is to keep that meeting on time and control the timing. And be able to interrupt somebody that's taking too much time. That is all part of being off the cuff. It's a basic idea of being prepared without knowing exactly what you're prepared for. But you are prepared to pay attention and listen. What is the situation? What's the opportunity? What am I supposed to be doing here? So if you go to a networking group and you're just going visiting, I hate just networking groups. I've never gotten good. And I recognized that it was always because I don't like small talk. So I had to change that whole idea that when you're networking, it sounds and feels like small talk and feels useless. But what it really is the opportunity to meet one person and one person and one person. So Julie, if you unmute yourself, we'll do a little role play here. Hi, Julie. My name is Sandra Valks. And what do you think of this group? You know, they've invited us over, small, you know, Chamber of Commerce, small business mix and mingle. How is it going for you?
I'm really loving it.
Oh, what are you loving? What's the best thing about it that you're finding?
Because you're speaking exactly about what I do, and it makes me really nervous to go on things because I ramble. I try and fill the gaps up, and so I'm really enjoying this.
Well, you're enjoying this meeting right now, but I'm saying we're out at the Chamber of Commerce. Do you like just to network somewhere? Yeah, not. Yeah. Well, you'd like to, but it sounds like you don't know what you're going to say.
No, Chamber of Commerce is something I've been interested to join, actually. Yes.
So if you just meet a stranger, okay, Julie, you ask Omeka here. You're just meeting her at the Chamber of Commerce, each with your own businesses backgrounds. So Omeka, if you unmute yourself. Julie, you've just met Omeka, cold turkey. You just have to go up and introduce yourself.
I'm introducing myself. Yeah. No, Omeka is. Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Oh, I'm Julie.
Great. I'm Omeka.
I'm from Amsterdam. And what about you?
I'm from Georgia, originally from New York, but Georgia for the last 30 years. What do you do?
Well, I teach, I try and help young people to find themselves in education.
Very important. Yeah, what kind of education?
I feel the education system needs a bit of a facelift.
Okay, all ages or?
Yeah, well, yeah, with me, teenagers and parents as well. I think parents are struggling.
Sounds interesting. What kind? You do activities or do you just talk to each other?
Yeah, I'm hoping to put together a series of kind of short tutorials where we can work online.
Okay. Just comments from some of the rest of you, or not even from the rest of you. How did that feel, Julie?
I wasn't quite sure whether I was supposed to listen to Omeka or just introduce myself. So I don't, anyway, I'll just.
That's networking, isn't it? You end up in this room and that's exactly what it is. I mean, in that Chamber of Commerce, small business room, whole bunch of strangers around. Okay, do what you're going to do. How did that feel for you, Omeka?
I was a little hesitating, but I was just really trying to learn about what she did. So who are you? What do you do? Yeah. So me.
Okay, and the networking, the networking opportunity lasts for an hour and a half, and there's a little bit of a food table over there and a coffee, and then you go home. Really, speaking off the cuff is what you're doing. But when you go to the networking event, you have to be in that sense and that mindset that that's what I'm going for, to meet people. And now you would maybe move into it a little more quickly. Suzanne, I'm going to get you to unmute yourself. Who would like to, who wants to? Binta, why don't you meet Suzanne? You're at the Chamber of Commerce small business event. Coaches are there. Everybody's there. Just go ahead when you're ready.
Well, hello, Suzanne.
Hi. How are you, Binta? Nice meeting you here.
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. It's very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. What do you enjoy doing in your days?
Oh, I love meeting people. I love talking to people. And I love to teach yoga. and practice. I love meditation. I love just creating. I have a business also that I work on, so I create my own products, and I just love all that. What about you?
That sounds wonderful. Yoga, that would be great. I work with a bunch of women who are coming out of the dark because they're autistic. And I think yoga would be the perfect thing that would relax them.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to learn more about some of the moves that I could teach them.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. Yoga is all about relaxing the mind. It's all about sitting down and just being quiet and let God speak.
Okay, I'm going to stop the role play there, but wasn't that one completely different? And I know that Olmeca and Julie were on the spot for the first one, and that was awkward. And so Suzanne and Binta learned from that and thought, okay, let's put ourselves more into the actual, I'm at the Chamber Small Business Network and I'm just dropped into this room. What am I there for? And you could see how it stepped up. Now, Suzanne is going to want to learn about yoga. And of course, Binta, that's what she does. She is excited. So you can see that the passion comes. Now, if Suzanne had met a mechanic instead, working on cars, well, that wouldn't be a good choice, would it, Suzanne? Because you might be all upset about cars. But you see where there might not be a connection at the network. You might share about what each other does, so you could refer people out, but you might say, well, enjoy the evening, let's keep meeting people. So it might be that you meet and you say, oh, but yes, let's connect. If if it's decided that you should connect, Suzanne might want to know about the car. The guy with the car might say he has an autistic child, and so on. So that could be, so you exchange your information and get in touch, but don't forget to get in touch, and you move on to the next person. Because at networking, you probably want to go and meet maybe 5 people.
Sandra, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Can I ask you? Public speaking has always been my biggest fear. So in situation like this, like some of the example you just did, are each one of us supposed to kind of prepare, like you're going to a networking kind of in your head, off the top of your head, like you want to prepare yourself, what kind of conversation, is this something you practice, you learn it, you prepare it, so that when you are asked and you meet people, you know what I guess it depending on the purpose of the meeting, what it's for and why you're there for.
Bingo. And so always that brings us to knowing your audience. In terms of the fear of public speaking, has anyone noticed today that we have our mouth moving and there's a sound coming out and there are people's ears that are hearing that sound coming out? You are now speaking publicly right here, right now. This is public speaking. It doesn't have to be a big fear. This is public speaking.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you created this, Rini, so that people could get more comfortable.
Right. So in terms of Rini's question now, how do you prepare for that? Okay, so you saw the first one, I'm kind of, just jumped on her head. I mean, those first networking groups, they're just so painful. And that's kind of the Julie and Olmeca thing. Like, I just want to go home and hide somewhere. Please let this be over. And then we moved into, okay, I've got a little more of the idea. So Suzanne and Binta got into it, and you started to see the bonding that was occurring immediately. So what did they need to have prepared? You are prepared if you know who you are and what you do. That's it. Now you understand your audience. And in this case, your audience is networking. We don't know who they are, but we know it's small business and it's at the Chamber of Commerce. So it's going to be businesses of some kind. People are going to be in whatever kind of business. That's all we know. We don't know who we're going to meet, But we do know that we're going to have to go in there and be bold, because everybody is shy about speaking up first. Everybody. And once we know that, then we get over ourselves and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and speak. So you have to be bold. And as you were listening, it's one asking, the other one answering. It's the give and take. You don't get to go to networking and just say, well, I'm Sandra and I do this, and then I never come up for breath. I don't care what they are or who they are. That's very obviously, very quickly, and it might just be my nervousness, but they don't know that. They're not in my shoes. So you have to monitor yourself and do the give and take. But while you're doing the giving and taking, the first part of communication is to shut your mouth and listen. Listen. When they say what they do, listen. And then ask an intelligent question back. If it's not intelligent, you weren't listening. Yoga. Oh my God, I can't do yoga. I'm just not interested at all. It's really tough stuff. Binta would be able to come back and say, but there's 7 kinds of yoga. So some of it's very gentle and you can have oh, I didn't know that. So then we're into a conversation. Somewhere along the way, after we get through the yoga, Binta might want to know what I'm about. Well, I help people learn to speak up and say what they have to say. Oh, gee, I could use that, because yoga is very quiet and meditative, but a lot of the quiet meditative people really need to learn also to speak up so that they have vocal boundaries as well, whatever, so the conversation, but somewhere we have to monitor ourselves. But if there's no connection there and just nothing resonates, I mean, how many have been to an affair where you've got what I call the glad handers? Usually politicians are real easy to pick out, because they'll come, oh, hi, how are you? Yeah, you have a good time, and off they go to somebody more important. That's glad handing. That happens. And sometimes it's us that does it. We don't do the glad handing, but we think, there's nothing, nothing resonating here. Well, look, I'm just going to scoot over and get a little bite to eat. You have a lovely evening. So good to meet you, and off you go. So it's sorting out where you're going to connect with people. So how do you prepare? You prepare by knowing who you are, what you're about, and what the occasion is. In other words, what your audience is, who your audience is. Suzanne has her hand up.
Yeah, what I was going to say is a lot of times it's active listening, picking up on what the other person is talking about. Then if you have a question, you can ask it right away. But if you're still not sure what they're talking about, the words "tell me more" are a nice way to put in, okay, I'm not quite sure how we connect yet, but if you tell me more, then I might be able to answer a question in a few moments. And the fact that Binta and I are so evenly kiltered, she didn't keep going on. She told me about the relaxing and then said, oh, that might work for my group of people. So it's, as you said, Sandra, it's a give and take, but listening. And if you're not sure, tell me more. So invites the person to explain a little deeper and shows that you're actually interested. And then say, oh, nice.
Yeah. So if it just finishes off with, oh, nice, you're not likely going to connect. But if it turned out to what I was hearing, you're probably going to want to make sure you've set up a coffee date or whatever, and then let's get on out and meet some other people. And you can say it as quickly as that too. Any other questions?
Kim Riley has a comment. Go ahead, Kim.
I was just saying that I think part of the key to that start of the conversation, Binta and Suzanne, was it Suzanne asked Binta, what do you do with your days? What do you enjoy in your days? I mean, it was like being curious about her just as a person, because where I get so disillusioned at networking events, it's like, well, what do you do? Well, I blah, 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 blah. What do you do? Well, I blah, 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 blah. And then it's over. It's like, I don't know, I'm jaded by networking events, I guess.
Right. So my challenge to you, Kim, with that, because absolutely, I know that's where I was and sort of still am as I go in, because I have to reframe it every time I go in to reframe it to the possibility. And it's up to you to bring up the question that you want.
We're
Yeah.
at the almost at the top of the hours. Sorry for interrupting here. 9 more minutes, so go ahead. I just want to remind you that we're getting
Yeah.
close to the time.
I was watching on that. So Kim, let's just continue this for a second. How could you reframe your purpose for going to networking when you're jaded?
Well, to begin with, I don't have to go in with that expectation. I think if I go in with that expectation, I'm going to meet it.
Okay,
So that's
the
number
first thing. You know that nobody's going. I mean, nobody knows what everybody's stilted when you get to a networking event.
Yeah.
It's, everybody's in the same. So how are we going to change that and be ourselves? And I mean, Kim, I've heard you speak before, and you're just this full of joy person that can just kind of, when it's your turn to talk, it's just, why not be Kim when you're there?
Yeah, it's like, again, like Suzanne started, I think, in a really good way to say, you know, what do you enjoy doing? Do some sort of question like that, or what's your, you know, what do you like about your life, or what's your favorite thing, you know,
Yeah.
you do,
So
or
you
what
see,
makes you feel.
that's the trap of networking, isn't it? We get there and we think we have to ask each other about their business, but that's not really who they are. So as we
Right.
learn, we just want to meet people, never mind what they do for a business. Who are
Right.
you as a person? So if we can reframe that in our mind, that when we're out networking, I mean, it's going to be the same thing at a wedding or a funeral. You know, if you're asked to go up and say a few words, you've got a lot of strangers there. You've got two sides of the family, you've got relationships. If it's a funeral, you've got the friends and the ones that are hurting, and the ones that are supporting, and you've got such a mix in any audience that it's wise to go prepared in your mind. That if I'm going to a funeral, I can anticipate what kind of conversation is going to occur. Or I can think, what am I going to say?
Sandra, isn't our job, what we do sometimes becomes our identity? Like that's the first thing people think of.
Mm-hmm. And that's the trap we fall into. What do you do instead of who are you? So by going to those questions of how do you feel your day? What are you doing when you're, I know we're all in business, that's why we're here, but what do you do for fun? Because we're probably going to meet in the fun somewhere. So I just want to kind of summarize what I was hearing here was attitude. You know, if others have an attitude, we've added to it. And we can change their attitude by being aware of our own, which is in reaction, and stop being in reaction to other people's attitudes and bring just love and light and questioning and curiosity. We can do that. Tone, words, choice, everything, like, yeah, we got it here. Get it here before you go spilling. And don't necessarily spill and flood anybody. Be aware, be aware, be aware, give and take. So we won't have to ramble, we can get clear and succinct. Beautiful wording is tell me more. Thank you with that one, Suzanne. And one I got the other day was, would it be helpful? If you want to, if you have an idea, would it be helpful? If, you know, whatever. Where we can share an opinion. I have got an entire tip sheet here that if anybody wants to get it mailed out to them, you're welcome to share your email with me and we'll get it added on to we'll get it out to you.
Is it do you have a PDF copy where you could share it on our chat group?
It would just be copy and paste it in as it would be. I would prefer, you know, if you don't mind having the email as well, please share that, but I can do that.
You want people to message you with their email address?
That would be wonderful.
Okay. I could do that.
And yeah, it's 10 tips to help you speak off the cuff. In it, I speak about interviews. So wherever you hear the word interview, think audience. Your audience is whoever that person is that's in front of you. right there.
Do we have an email address for you, Sandra?
Oh, sorry. Yes. We'll put that in.
Or you could just message
Just
Sandra.
message her, Messenger.
Just use Messenger to put
To-
your
to
email
send it.
address.
Yeah.
sjvalks@gmail.com. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sandra. This has been such a wonderful topic. You know, all of us, we can learn from you with this, you know, information, because oftentimes we, you know, even myself, when you first asked me, I was caught off guard, to tell you the truth. I was not prepared. You were going to ask me first, right? And I wasn't ready for that. So I just said, whatever. But it would have been nice if I could have been prepared and think about what kind of question you'll be asking, or what kind of, I wasn't prepared. So I think this is a good learning point for all of us here. But thank you so much. Such a great topic, and all of you for coming here. Next week is Lovelyn, our beautiful friend here, going to be presenting forgiveness and self-compassion. That's the topic for next week. So hope to see all of you there. Sandra, do you want to say something to close this out?
I think the big thing for me is recognizing that communication is more than just the words coming out of our mouths. Communication is nurtured and valued when you're being yourself, and you can't be yourself if you don't love yourself as you are and can move in the world without masks and shields. That doesn't mean that we don't prepare ourselves for the occasion. Of course, I'm not going to be the joking fool when I'm singing at a funeral. But even with that, I can have a laugh and help pick the tension of the pain that people are in. So we really can make a difference being ourselves and being what is safe and appropriate. Safe and appropriate is the other thing, you know. If I'm walking down a street and the hair goes up on the back of my neck, do I ignore that? No, look around and then get on out of there. So it's an awareness, which is the safe. Apparently in past lives, I was hung for my opinions. You know, if you're into that. So I've often had trouble with my throat. And I kind of think, oh, there's probably something about it. And then I was at one, Red was talking and he said, yeah, well, there's parts of the world where you'd still need to watch what you're going to say and how you're going to behave. Like that's just being safe and aware. But we have all of these personalities, the one we live in the most time, but we're not stupid and we don't have to play stupid. We have to be appropriate and aware. With that, I think that's my final words. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful group. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see all of you
That was
back
great.
here next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. All right.
Bye.